Welcome to Astrometica. After the initial cutscene, you'll find yourself in a small room with a couple of storage boxes, a fabricator, and minimal guidance to craft some basic equipment. You can press Tab to open up your inventory to reveal there's nothing in it. Now, if you interact with your fabricator with left click, it'll bring up a menu with a few different tabs. Going to the Equipments tab will reveal a bunch of equipment that correspond to the items in your first steps. Each of these items will require different intermediary components. They can be found in your Resources tab. These intermediate components are crafted from basic materials, so your next question might be, how do you get these basic materials? If you step out to the door to your right, you'll be launched into space. Once you've oriented yourself with basic movement, you'll spot these large rocks nearby. While it's tempting to collect materials from them, you'll quickly encounter a message indicating that you need a mining tool, which you don't have yet. Instead, you'll want to look for these smaller rocks. These grey rocks provide iron, these bronze-colored rocks yield copper, and these black rocks yield coal. Keep an eye on your oxygen bar because if it depletes, you will black out and die. While death isn't heavily penalized, you will drop your inventory, so you can just go back to where you perished and pick it up again. Now you'll want to run around and collect a few of these basic materials to build your mining tool. You'll want to collect yourself 5 iron, 2 copper, and 1 coal to build your mining tool. With the basic materials collected, go to your fabricator and craft yourself 2 copper wires. You can hold shift and scroll up to craft multiple of a single type of item at the same time. You'll also want to craft 1 electronic part and 1 battery. Then combine these items together to create your first mining tool. You can press Tab to drag your mining tool into one of your 5 inventory slots. Each one of these slots will correspond to that hotkey 1 to 5. With your mining tool equipped, you can now approach these larger asteroids. You can hold right click to start mining them. After mining one, you will get 3 of that material. You want to keep an eye out on your tool's battery percentage, for when it runs out, you'll need to craft and replace the battery. Remember, you can craft the battery with a copper wire and some coal. If you have multiple batteries in your inventory slot, you can either drag the battery onto your tool to swap it, or alternatively, you can press X and it will let you quickly swap any batteries that you have in your inventory. Now that you're familiar with basic resource collection, it's time to gather the remaining materials for your basic equipment. The oxygen capsule, the backpack, and the jetpack. You're going to need 7 iron, 4 copper, 2 coal, 1 quartz, and 2 silver, which we haven't covered yet. You can find loose quartz floating around. It's this green mineral looking rock. Alternatively, you can find quartz as entire deposits on the floor or on the roof of caves. Although mining this will be quite slow and only yields 3 quartz, so you may be just better off looking for the loose quartz that's lying around. You might need to travel a bit further out for silver, but you're basically looking for these black rocks with shiny minerals sticking out of it. Once again, they take forever to mine, so make sure you have plenty of oxygen. But once you have at least 2 silver and 1 quartz, you can return to your fabricator and craft all these basic components. You can make yourself 3 copper wire, an extra one for the electronic part, and then you should be able to make your oxygen capsule, your backpack, and your jetpack. Don't forget to equip these items by dragging them onto your character. You'll have to drag it into these slots and then they'll go into one of these designated slots for whatever that equipment is. And once you've equipped them, you will have finished your first steps quest. You'll notice a new bar on the bottom right of your screen indicating your jetpack's fuel. You can now hold shift and your jetpack will run out its fuel, but you will be accelerated very quickly. When not in use, the jetpack will just slowly recharge itself. Beware when using the jetpack, when you impact things at maximum acceleration, you can hurt yourself. Your oxygen tank will passively increase your oxygen bar. You'll notice you now have 100 seconds of oxygen. And finally, you'll notice the backpack just simply increases your inventory size. Although the tutorial doesn't mention it, I recommend that you also now gather the materials for a scanner tool and a scrapper. These items will come in very useful in the near future. Right-clicking on the scrapper will allow you to break open boxes with useful materials inside. And the scanning tool, if you left-click it, will ping the area and highlight any useful points of interest that you can scan. And scanning items with right-click will unlock blueprints in the future. Finally, let's cover the 4 basic survival metrics at the bottom left of your screen. If any of these reach 0, you'll meet a swift death. If you go to your fabricator, you'll notice a consumables tab. There's 4 items here, one to deal with each of the survival metrics. You have water for thirst, space burgers for hunger, you have med kits for health, and you have oxygen tanks for, you guessed it, oxygen. Now you can see what materials are required to craft each of these. We haven't covered a lot of them, so with ice, if you look outside your pod, you'll find these ice cube looking things, which you can just pick up, and that will just be loose ice. Alternatively, you can find these shiny blue white rocks, and you can harvest them for ice as well. For fabric required for the med packs, you can find them in containers. The earliest source from your starting point is this pod right in front of your starting area. You'll find these containers that have fabric in them called fabric packages, and it requires the scrapper to break open. Once you break them open, you should find some fabric inside the boxes. There should be another one inside the actual pod. To make space burgers, you're going to need organics, and you can find loose organics just floating around your starting area. They're these green MRE packages. And with that, you should be able to craft all your basic consumables that you can carry around with you to survive when you're out in the wilderness. To consume them, just hit tab and open your inventory and left click. Since death doesn't really carry a heavy penalty in this game, you don't really need to stress too much about these bars, for whenever you die, your health, thirst, and hunger will always reset to 50%. And with that, you should now be fully equipped and ready to explore the vast world of Astrometica. If this video helped, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and if you're looking for more content, consider checking out my Astrometica Let's Play, where I bang my head against the wall to figure out all the mechanics for these guides.